Good afternoon. My name is Joe Bandel, and I am the last Rosicrucian. Today, we're going to talk about the sacred and the profane. No matter who we are, there are things that we consider sacred, and there are things that we consider profane. This is a difficult subject because truth has been distorted so badly that most of the time it's not even recognized. There are people that are quick to say that everything is relative, that there is no good or evil in this world except for the values which we place upon them. In other words, they say that good and evil is relative to each individual and might change from one person to the next. I would like to share that I believe in the healthy individual, healthy self-esteem, and that a healthy human ego is needed to be mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually healthy. However, I disagree with modern psychology and its conclusion that the shadow and higher self are normal parts of the human psyche. I believe they are both secondary personalities that need to be neutralized and absorbed into the normal human ego. When we think of the higher self, we think of spiritual things and sacred things. But most of all, we think of highly desired spiritual things that we don't believe exist inside of us. We can't find them inside us. We don't think they're there. We wish that we had them, but we feel that we don't. Because of this, these higher spiritual things remain forever out of reach and unattainable to us. What is really happening is that distortion and unrealistic thinking in our perception of the world cause us to believe in something that really doesn't exist in the way that we think it does. How many times in life have we finally reached a goal that was very important to us, only to realize that it wasn't really what we had thought it would be? In this way, the higher self is a lie that deludes us and seeks to hold itself above us so that we may submit to it and spend our lives in service to it, chasing after these higher spiritual truths. What I'm trying to say is that good does exist inside of us. The divine does exist inside of us. And if we can find these things inside of us, we can take possession of them, and our lives will become richer, and so will the lives of others, because we will recognize those things in others as well. Instead of having unrealistic expectations of ourselves and of others, we need to have realistic, healthy, and human expectations. Something similar might be said of the shadow as well. There are things in this world that are twisted, sick, perverted, and evil. I will not deny that. But what I am saying is that the shadow contains those things which we do find inside of us and try to repel in horror and disgust. Once more, it is the distortion and unrealistic thinking and expectation that causes harm. We confront our anger or our sexuality, things that are healthy and human, and instead of owning them and accepting them, we think that anger is bad and that sexuality is bad. So we twist them and repress them until they come out in twisted and perverted ways. We do not recognize what is healthy and what is human. We don't recognize them as good because we have been taught to hate our own humanity and focus exclusively on the spiritual, which we consider good, even though it's continuously out of reach. Our shadow is only trying to protect us and help us to fulfill our needs in life. The more we try to become like God, the more a part of us becomes like Satan. The more we try to be human, the more human we become. The more human we become, the more human others become as well. Now this is a hard subject. This is a hard thing. The sacred and the profane. To integrate. And I'll try to say it in another way. Those things we think belong to our higher self, those things that we think are spiritual, that we don't find inside of us, we reach for them and we can never reach for them. and we never find them. We never achieve them. We never find them inside of us, but they are inside of us. We're just not recognizing that they are inside of us. And when you look at the shadow aspect, when you look at those things that are inside of us that we hate, that we don't like, but they're inside of us and we despise and we try to push away, that we're ashamed of, those things are a part of us, and they're there for a reason, and the reason is not to be ashamed of them. The problem with both of these, whether it's those spiritual things that are unreachable, or whether it is those negative aspects that we're so ashamed of, the problem is the distortions that we carry about them. We're not perceiving them accurately. I'm going to tell a story about a dream. This is a dream I had during a time of my life when I was really, it was a volatile period in my life, and I was working through things. I had this dream that was so powerful, so vivid. In the dream, I was walking along the beach of a lake, and there was this big monster with teeth out in the lake, and I was scared of it. I was like, man, and it seemed like all it was teeth, but it's like I was fishing for it, and there was a cord, it was like a fishing line, but it was a cord, which means it was a cord, an astral cord that was attached to it. And I was pulling it in. I was pulling it in to the shore. And I was afraid, but I was pulling it in. And it came up on the shore, the teeth going like that. And again, I was afraid, but it kept pulling it onto the shore. And it transformed. It turned into a yellow alligator type thing. It had a stubby tail that had its tail chopped off for some reason. And somehow it became a pet. It became tame. It became my alligator puppy, is what I called it, my alligator puppy. And the leash was still there. And it followed me around. It had the terrible teeth of the alligator or whatever, but they weren't after me. They were to protect me. And there were times, and I could sense at times that there it was with me during the day, my little alligator puppy. It was kind of a yellow color or something like that. But I realized that what its reason for existence was to protect me. And when I was attacked by other people, when I was psychically attacked or magically attacked, what happens was I turned my yellow alligator puppy on him. And that alligator puppy just did a tremendous job of protecting me, magically, psychically, whatever. It was powerful, and it was working in my good, for my good. Now, that alligator puppy was attached to me through an astral cord. It was a part of me that I had not integrated, that I had feared, that I had pushed away. This is the thing that we're talking about. That alligator puppy was my shadow self. And in that dream, in that moment, it was showing how I was actually integrating that shadow aspect, the parts that belonged to me that I feared and pushed away. I was bringing them back. And over the years, that alligator puppy disappeared. It actually integrated more, and it became more human until it became actually integrated into my aura, into my soul, as real, as it wasn't separate anymore. It was a part of me. And if I needed to protect myself, if I was attacked psychically, magically, whatever, in life or whatever, if I needed protection, I drew upon that. I drew upon that essence, that power that was a part of myself. And that's why I'm saying that the higher self and the shadow self are actually secondary personalities. They need to be integrated into the ego or sense of self. They are an abnormality that shouldn't be there in a healthy person, because the higher self, it's the same way. It's taking those distortions and those things that you believe don't exist inside of you and that you can never achieve. And the thing is, they are inside of you, or they can belong to you. You can draw them to yourself through a similar process. And in the process of doing that, you become more healthy, more spiritually healthy, mentally healthy, emotionally healthy. And when that happens, you become more physically healthy as well. That's the key, to integrate, to become stronger, to have your ego strength. Mental cases are dealing with weak, fractured egos. You need to be complete. You need to be whole. I'm running out of time. I hope I've made my point on this, the sacred and the profane. Consider being a patron. $1 a month will give you access to a lot of other videos some that I have made, others that I'm going to be making, and I appreciate it. I mean, if you appreciate what I'm doing, that's not a lot to ask. Have a good day.